And closely tied to that, around product-led versus other parts of the organization, another question came in around many product organizations end up being very engineering-led. What can the product team do to ensure there is more balance between engineering and product?
Yeah, this is where I was talking about when I said, like, sometimes we have to put engineering under the CPO, like that we've actually done quite a bit. And that's because engineering is leading the product roadmap instead of the other way around, which is product leading the engineering roadmap. And that's what you always want. You want the second scenario, not the first. Give you a great example of what happens when engineering leads product. Worked for this very large company that wanted to build a platform. They basically had everything as a big monolith in the background. They said, let's move to microservices. I'm sure everybody here is like, oh, microservices. We hear this all the time. But it's like one of the most common strategies. Let's break it up. Let's build a platform that can enable all of the building of applications on top of it. Great idea. Definitely the right move for this company. Product was over here working on the applications. The CTO actually oversaw the platform development, did not have any product managers whatsoever. They spec'd out the whole roadmap for the technology platform. They started building it. They spent something like $20 million building this platform in 1 year. Nobody used it. Nobody migrated off the monolith onto it. Why? It didn't actually match up with the product roadmap. So things they were developing to sell to customers wasn't the same services on the back end that were powering it. So they were building all this stuff that they thought was like really cool new tech and nobody was consuming it. It's the same mentality to build a platform as it is to do product management. It's like my customers are now the application teams and I need to overlay my customer facing roadmap with my backend roadmap to make sure we're building things that are actually going to be consumed and that work towards it. So that's what happens when technology leads and when product doesn't. You can't commercialize tech that nobody wants, right? Like you can't make money off of it. So in that case, what we have to align on is like, what are our business goals? And they're usually revenue or cost focused, right? They're always financially focused. And then your business goals should probably be tied to big, what I call strategic intents to get you there. So like what new markets are we entering? Are we going up market, down market, whatever? Cool. What's the product roadmap to get there? And then what's the technology roadmap to get there? You start to poke holes in it when it's super engineering focused because you go, what's the projected revenue or what's the projected cost savings, right? From all the stuff we're building over here in tech. How does that ladder up to the strategic intents? And that's like where tools like Dragonboat come in handy because you start to see all the progress that you're actually making and how many people from a capacity standpoint are working on these initiatives. And how does that relate back into actual business initiatives and where we're moving towards the business focus? So that's the conversations that get you out of a tech-led mentality. If you do have investors, those should be the questions that they're actually asking. If you're a smaller company, that's usually where these traps, smaller company or don't have a very technical board, that's usually where these traps come from. But you have to constantly question, like, are the things that we're building going to be monetized? Like, how are they being monetized? How do they help the business? How do they help our customers?
Right. It's so funny. You just brought up two memories. And one of the example we had, not a name company, very big company. And the tech roadmap was doing a batch refactoring. So refactor all the batches. It's again, separate from the product. So when the product will release, none of the batches work because everything broken. Because they thought it just refactor everything, it's not changing everything. And then the product release is not tied to it. So like, it's a huge disaster. I roll back everything, tens of millions of dollars of things that have to be really put on pause. So later on, what we learned is to actually combine tech roadmap and the product roadmap, figure out what are the things that are driving business outcomes. And these are things that would say, actually would have a synergy on how we refactor part of the platform. You don't need to do everything at once, right? You can actually chunk it up. They're tied to the revenue generating, business outcome driven kind of product roadmaps together. So, and to your point, that's actually another company I worked at. It was actually having product CPOs owns the product engineering and the product ops, so that the organization structure doesn't always matter, but in some cases it does because the workflow tend to lead that way. So it was really a good validation in terms of understanding the business outcome and understanding the product needs, and then the platform side of things is supporting that. So then you can much better allocate and sequence the work the team is going to take on.
Yep, great.